Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for our visit. And as usual, we'll probably have lots of things to talk about. And we'll do this as we've done some of our other town halls and Coffee with Kevin's recently. And we'll have a moderator. So Jen Forche is going to be our moderator for today's session. So Jen, do you have anything to start off with about how we do it?
Yep, thanks, Kevin. I know we've all been through these a time or two, but I will still go ahead and pop the directions there in the chat. So if you'd like to submit a question, you can do so using the chat feature. You can chat the whole group or you can chat me directly. The instructions on how to do that are located there in the chat. We're also streaming this live on YouTube, so YouTube questions will be directed to me as well. So I think that's it. We can just go ahead and get started. We'll give it just a minute, Kevin, to have some questions come in. And as soon as we have some, I'll go ahead and direct those to you.
Okay, sounds good. I'm very excited, how far we are into the term and things seem to be going well. I know for me, it feels great to have our students on campus. And I know that our participation in the student events has been very high. And in fact, from what I understand from our student affairs staff, the participation is above even go back to 2019, some pre-pandemic levels. So that's good. It's good to see. So I'm sure we're all glad to be doing this. But Jen, do we have any questions in yet?
Yep, looks like we have our first question. So first question, Kevin, I just read the communication that you sent to campus. You mentioned that we need to be prepared for the future. Do you have any additional thoughts on what that preparation looks like?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think we have to be prepared about what our future is over the course of the semester. We all know that there's a rise in COVID cases. And we all know that we're having another surge with the Delta variant. And we just have to be prepared for how we change throughout the semester. Probably my first and foremost message is to once again encourage our entire campus community, faculty, staff, students, everyone involved with Idaho State University to get vaccinated. Vaccinations are the key to us being able to remain open, remain in person, and do what we do best is with a more vaccinated population. Vaccinations are the key. It's what medical science developed for us. It's how we will get through this pandemic the best. Please, everyone, get vaccinated and encourage in your classes and your students that you come in contact with to get vaccinated. Woohoo. Second, we need to talk about being flexible. As the semester moves on, we need to be ready for things to change. Things might change for short periods of time. And so we're going to be reviewing things on a weekly basis throughout the course of the semester. And if we do have to make changes, our intent isn't to make changes for the entire rest of the semester, but for time periods as we move along. To try to deal with whatever the surge might be or whatever outbreaks we may or may not have on campus. So flexibility is the key. I think everyone just needs to think about the future if we do have to make those changes. It doesn't mean we will. It means we just have to be ready. We proved last year we could be flexible and make changes, and I just want everyone to think about that. Now, I know that HR is working on communication to send out to managers and supervisors later today to talk about what different offices might need to be prepared for. Academic Affairs is sending out a communication this afternoon to faculty about what they might need to be prepared for and how to be flexible in these situations. So we're trying to communicate where we are and some advice. And like I said in the communication, we're going to make a commitment to communicating every week as needed and be flexible about where we're headed in the future.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. If we need to move classes online, is there anything we can do about labs?
In many ways, the the situation with labs and other certain types of in-person instruction is that that's difficult to move to a distance-based. So again, flexibility is the key. And again, trying to make sure that what we do in the classroom, in the instruction, matches what the students need to learn and how the instructor needs to deliver it. So Academic Affairs is going to send out an email this afternoon to faculty with guidance about flexibility and what to do. Faculty should work with their department chairs and their deans to be ready for those types of operational changes. Right now we're operating in level white on our operational levels. The next level we might move to is gray. Again, if we do, it's for hopefully a period of time, not just the remainder of the semester. And if we do have to move to gray for a period of time, then Academic Affairs will have more specific guidance for faculty on some of the labs or other types of instruction where in-person really is needed, because that can be done, and it can be done safely if we have the right protocols in place. And the intent would be to do it that way and do it right if we have to move to those.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. I've had students complain to me about the EISU online class fee. They are frustrated that they don't have the option to take some classes in person that they would take in person if it was an option. What can I tell these students about the purpose of that fee?
Okay, so the question about ISU or the EISU fees. Last year, we used some of our COVID relief funds that came in to refund those fees because we had moved so much of our instruction to online. This year, since we're back in person, we didn't do it the same way. I'm not sure if I understand exactly the questions about the frustration. Can you read that part of the question again, Jen, about they're frustrated they don't have an option to take classes in person?
Yes, so they're frustrated that they don't have an option to take some of those classes in person, and they would have chosen an in-person class had it been available.
Okay. Well, I think what we'll probably need to do is, first of all, at Admin Council, we are reviewing the EISU fee in general. I think the EISU fee, I'm not sure when the university adopted it, but it was quite some time ago, many years ago. And I think that looking forward as an institution in the 21st century, we need to come to the realization that we shouldn't charge differential based on online versus in-person instruction, because that's starting to blend, as we all know, across our industry, across what we do. So we need to look at that. However, we do receive as an institution, a significant portion of our revenue comes from the EISU fee that's part of our structural budget. And as I think the campus knows, we have currently still a structural budget deficit that's much better now than it was a year ago and 2 years ago. But what I've asked our leadership team to do is explore what are the right options net to make adjustments to our tuition and fee structure that's revenue neutral, doesn't hurt our revenue, but moves us away from charging that as a different fee. But this will take more than we can do in just one semester. So I just want the campus to know we're working on that from a policy perspective for a larger long-term answer to that problem. Right now, during the current semester, we'll take a look at that question, but that's where we are in terms of trying to solve that sort of permanently over time.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. Should we give students the option of attending classes via Zoom if they prefer to do so?
Well, I mean, I don't like to quibble with one part of the question, but sometimes it's not all just about preference. There are times when we need to change instructional modality. And if there's a faculty member that needs to do it and needs to make that change to a different learning environment, either more remote or otherwise, and it is appropriate for that class, the pedagogy of that class makes it make sense, then I think a faculty member should talk to their department chair or their dean to discuss that change and discuss whether that should happen. If our health landscape improves significantly, then we wouldn't want that to happen. If it goes the other way, we might need to have that happen. But hopefully we can maintain the original instructional modality as much as possible. I think we need to tell students, encourage them if they're sick to stay home, and then know that we have to deal with that. Or a student that needs to go online, try to accommodate that as much as possible. I know this situation isn't perfect, but if an instructor feels that in person is the best way to deliver that instruction, doesn't mean we can just go to Zoom because a student might prefer it. We have to have that conversation. I know these are difficult calls. I know this is a lot for everybody. But if we keep trying to work through this, and when it is the right thing to do, we do it the right way, that's got to be our goal.
Next question. Earlier, you mentioned that there will be a weekly review of the situation. On what day would updates be released to campus?
Good question. At the moment, we're talking about doing it every Friday. That seems like that gives us time to look through the data from that week and what's going on and make any announcements we do for the upcoming week. So that's our plan as of now, is to try to do those communications on Fridays. And even if there aren't any changes, if nothing is going to change, I think we'll send out a communication saying that things will remain the same. But I think the plan is we'll plan on every Friday doing some communication.
Great, thanks, Kevin. With homecoming next week, will the university have any additional COVID protocols that we will need to follow?
Okay, so the one that I announced today is that starting on Monday, we're going to implement an outdoor mask requirement for events and gatherings larger than 150 people where physical distancing isn't possible. And we know there are several events planned for homecoming next week. We want to make sure we can still hold those. We're not going to say we're not doing them. In fact, we are doing them, but we also want to do them safely. So if there are events where you can't physical distance and it has more than 150 people, we will expect people to wear a mask even outdoors. We're also right now working on rolling out enhanced communications about all of this, reminders about face coverings, vaccinations, about our screening program, so that we can try to screen people who might be asymptomatic positive, so we can do the right isolations and quarantines. So we are talking about all these efforts, but the main one that will take effect next week is the outdoor mask requirement for the large gatherings where physical distancing isn't possible.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. How is the training going? Do you have a goal time for the 5K?
Well, I think training is going pretty well. I'm still running 3 days a week, and I don't have a goal time, and I don't want anyone necessarily to have a goal time. I want everyone to do what's right for them, whatever your goals are, including whether you're running or you're walking or you're just coming out to be part of the event. But my training is going well. I encourage everybody who wants to take part in the Run for Funds to sign up at isu.edu/run for funds, and we'll have a good time and raise money for scholarships.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question.
Okay, wait.
Yes.
One more thing.
Mm-hmm.
I debated about whether to say this because I'm sure everybody doesn't want to know all this, but I'm having a little trouble with my knee. My left knee, having a little trouble with it. But the good news is I have been going to physical therapy, and I've been going to physical therapy at our PT clinic here on campus. And I can tell everybody on campus that the level of care and treatment I have been getting there is nothing short of fantastic. They are doing great things for my knee, and the level of care is great, and it's been great. So But just so everybody knows, in full disclosure, having a little issue with my patellar tendon, but our PT crew is really taking care of me very well. So that's the full disclosure.
Thanks, Kevin. Hopefully it's getting better. Next question. Is there any possibility of letting dual enrollment students participate in the cash for vax, or does that run up against any age and equity issues? It could be great for our vaccination numbers in this community.
I can see that, and I can see the question. I'm not sure if it runs up against age equity type issues, but I can say at the present time, we don't have the budget to do that for our dual enrollment students. So we're focused primarily on keeping our in-person classes on campus and prioritizing our on-campus student population with that as much as possible. Appreciate the idea, but we don't have that built into the budget for that program.
Thanks, Kevin. I have a little bit of an aside going back to the previous question when you were talking about PT.
Okay.
Someone wants to know if our PT clinic on campus works with our insurance.
It does. Works just fine. It has been seamless as far as my experience with our insurance. It works great. So everybody at our PT clinic, from the physical therapist to the staff that works on it's been a great experience.
We also have someone from our PT department watching today, and they are glad to hear that you're having a good experience.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Who is enforcing the mask mandate in classrooms when instructors are not?
Well, as we normally do with our classrooms are the province of our faculty. Faculty should be asking students to wear their face coverings, and if they're not, faculty can ask them to do so. And if they refuse to do so, ask them to leave and refer the issue to the dean of students. Faculty are responsible for managing their classrooms. That's their province to do so. But to our faculty who are out there, if you need to use the dean of students to support you in this, please do so. I know the dean of students office is ready to respond. From what we've heard back in our reports, we've seen face covering compliance going pretty well this semester. Now, I don't claim that it's perfect and it's in every classroom, but I think overall it's going well. But Craig and the dean of students staff is available and willing to meet with any faculty members or chairs or deans to discuss best practices for handling concerns, for de-escalating those when they come up. So if anybody has those kind of issues, please know you can do that and reach out to the dean of students for help.
Thanks, Kevin. In just a second to organize our questions here.
Okay.
Okay, next question. Some of us work paycheck to paycheck, especially administrative staff. Will faculty and staff always have to pay for a parking pass in order to come to work?
Yeah, I understand that question. The short answer, if we really just are going to cut to the chase, is yes. Unfortunately, I know that parking on university campuses is always a controversial topic, but there are costs of running a parking program and maintaining parking lots and painting them and resurfacing them, and that is covered by the parking tag sales. Those are dedicated funds that help us maintain the parking lots and keep them. At the end of the day, parking is always controversial on a campus, but it comes down to three things. When it comes to parking, everybody wants parking to be there to be plenty of it, to make it available, that they want it to be convenient to where their needs are, and they want it to be as inexpensive as possible. And the reality of those three things, it's like a triangle. And at any given time, a university can deliver on two of the three, but not all three. And if everyone wants their parking to be plentiful and very convenient, we can do that, but it will be very expensive to do so. If everyone wants their parking to be very inexpensive and plentiful, we can do that, but it will be in areas that aren't convenient. Because in the convenient areas is where it's more expensive to build the parking and maintain the parking. So you can pick any two of those three, but you can't pick all three. And that's what makes parking hard on a campus. And I understand paying for parking is not something anybody wants to do, but it's how the university has to maintain those lots and maintain that parking. And so it is an unfortunate necessity. So again, to the short answer, yes, there will be continued charges for parking on campus.
Kevin, we have a couple follow-up questions related to parking.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that employees pay more than students? We are constantly on campus where students are not. Is there any possibility that everyone could pay the same rate?
Well, part of it is in all fairness. Well, I don't know about fairness is the right word, but getting our students here to go to school is our core mission. And trying to be cost conscious to what it costs a student to go to school. You know, we could look at several different ways we can, again, allocate what it costs to maintain a parking operation. But either way, we're going to have to cover those costs. At the same time, when we say, would it be more fair to put more cost on the students? Some people would argue yes. Other people would say, but we're trying to bring down costs to students, both in tuition and in textbooks and in other costs. And so putting yet another cost on them, it's a difficult conversation. I empathize completely. Having worked in this area for quite some time, I understand it. And we can engage in conversations about that. But again, there will always be a give and take in how those charges are allocated.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. I teach in a fully online asynchronous degree program. Our students live in areas all across the country. What efforts can we make to support online students to feel connected to ISU? Can we establish some online events? We'd like to offer an online disaster movie night with live Twitter hashtags for comments, but we don't know how to accomplish this.
Well, this seems like a great idea. I like the idea. I'm not sure what a disaster movie night is like, but I can see an online event movie night. So I think this is a great idea. You know, with what we've learned over the last 18 months as an institution, we've learned that with our online modality and with our high flex modality, we can have students who want to be fully participated in attending the university, but without being here. And we need to think about this philosophically. How do we include those students in our community even more? So whoever is asking, I would encourage you to reach out to Student Affairs and maybe to Allison Johnson, who's our Director of University Events. And maybe we need a campus brainstorm around this event idea or other event ideas. We are here to help our students and be here for our students. That's our mission. So we can provide opportunities that serve their needs wherever they are. I think that is important. So I think we should talk to Student Affairs. I'm going to share this feedback with our Student Affairs team. And we need to think about how we make sure that those students who are distance-based are our students and part of our university. I like that.
Next question. Why are they charging for printing on campus when they did not last year?
I don't know the answer to that. So I don't know that I have an answer to that question. So we'll have to look into that.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. We have some more comments coming in on parking, so I don't think these are necessarily questions. I'll just read them for the group.
Okay.
One person wanted to point out that you can buy your parking pass through payroll deduction. If you do it this way, it comes out to about $7 per paycheck. So this is a very affordable way to get a parking pass. Another point of feedback is that our admins are underpaid and live paycheck to paycheck. Do not think it's fair that we have to pay as much for parking as faculty. And disaster movies is because it's an emergency management degree, hence the disaster part. I'm assuming they're like natural disaster movies would be my guess.
Okay. I have been to several movies that I thought were a disaster, but I didn't think that's what we meant.
All right, next question is, I am curious how many students have taken advantage of the Vax for Cash program? Does it seem to be working? What are the numbers?
I haven't seen the numbers this week, but last week, as of last week, it was about 2,600 students had come in and claimed their vaccination cash. So about 2,600 students. So I think that's good. I think it shows that students are responding. So that's good. I don't have the updated numbers for this week yet.
Thanks, Kevin. If we are walking in the parade, is it mandatory for us to wear a mask?
Well, I would appreciate it. I think we should model the behavior we want to see. And if we are participating in a university event that has more than 150 people where physical distancing is difficult, that we should do so. I will be in the parade for homecoming, and I will be wearing my mask.
Thanks, Kevin. Would a higher vaccination rate across campus help to prevent the escalation of moving to operational level gray?
Yes, unequivocally, absolutely, yes. Higher vaccination rates across campus, 100% vaccination rate across campus, that's the answer to our situation. If our entire campus community, faculty, staff, and students were vaccinated, we wouldn't be talking about going to gray. We wouldn't be talking about a lot of these things that we're discussing. Vaccination is the solution, period.
Kevin, can you talk a little bit about where the funding is coming from for the vaccine incentive program?
Oh, yes, that was all of the funds for the vaccination program are coming from the federal stimulus dollars, the CARES Act dollars. And that's one of the purposes federally for that money to be spent. And that's all of the money being spent on that is from those federal dollars.
Thanks, Kevin. I don't want to shift away from in-person versus online, but what about transportation from Idaho Falls and Blackfoot to campus? Will there be consideration for a later bus going back to Blackfoot and Idaho Falls? Right now, the last bus is around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock.
So I think we're currently in the process of evaluating our commuter bus program. We have some very old buses. We often have trouble maintaining them. In this labor market, it's actually been very difficult to get properly qualified drivers for the routes. So we're going to try and offer as many routes as we can, but the number and frequency of those routes is probably less than ideal. I appreciate the feedback, but this program is one that we're currently reviewing. We're trying to offer it as much as we can. And I know it won't work for everybody, but I know that group is trying the best they can.
Next question. Is it true that I can purchase beer in the Holt Arena this year?
Well, I don't know the age of the person that just asked that question, but if they are over 21, then yes. So sorry for the facetious part of the answer, but yes, this year we did make a change that allows for the purchase of beer and alcoholic seltzers. So those are now available in Holt Arena. This was made after a change to the state policy that allowed us to do this. In order to do that, we had to implement some other changes to the arena to create the right, safe, and appropriately controlled environment for alcohol service. One of the things that required is the no reentry policy. So once you enter Holt Arena, if at any time you exit the facility, you cannot return. So that's one of the requirements to make the environment safe and controlled as required for alcohol service. But yes, when you go to an event in Holt Arena, beer and other alcoholic seltzer beverages are available for purchase.
Okay, Kevin, next question. When do you see the 23-acre property in Meridian getting developed?
I would like to see it as soon as possible. However, we have a couple of things we need to think about. One is we're in the middle right now of doing our strategic plan. The strategic plan for the university as a whole obviously will include Meridian and how we plan to grow in Meridian. And part of that will be the development of that property that we have in Meridian. So I would expect that over the next 3 to 10 years, we will see a development starting there. And I know that's a broad range, but we have a couple of things. First, funding for new construction is pretty difficult to secure. So we'll have to make sure we get it planned. What will that property look like once it's developed? How does it meet our mission, meet the needs of our students and our campus? And then we'll have to secure the funding to be able to develop that. There's a lot of opportunity there to take a blank piece of property. I mean, even the Meridian Center itself, we didn't start with a blank canvas. We had to take the building that was there and how could we convert it to our use. I'm very excited about the idea of a blank canvas of property to develop into so that we don't just have, I mean, right now we have a fantastic health science center there. But imagine the possibilities when we have an entire health science campus, not just one center. The center does a great job and they do great things there, but we can, if we do it thoughtfully, develop an entire health science campus. And that is going to expand what we do for the entire state in our healthcare education. So I'm very excited about that as we plan and develop that, but it will take time and it will take resources. So that's why it'll take a while.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. Can you please speak a bit on current and new recruitment initiatives that are being done at the university? Also, how they plan to coordinate with the programs so we can reduce redundant recruitment efforts.
Okay, so I know we've talked before about the development of a strategic enrollment plan. We needed to make some changes as a campus to how we recruit students, what our recruitment process is, and what ISU's previous outreach efforts were like and what we need in the future. So our enrollment management team put together a committee, a broad committee, and they came together over the last year and put together these initiatives and other details to create a strategic enrollment management plan. And a big part of that strategic enrollment management plan is how we do recruitment. What are our strengths in recruitment? What are the right target areas that we should recruit in? What are the things that we can recruit to so that we can look at all areas of the campus and how we can holistically support our recruitment efforts in all of our programs. So our goal is to do just what the question asked, that we have a coordinated and campus-wide recruitment effort. We don't have things that are either redundant or even in some cases inconsistent, and that we know why we're reaching out to students, what we're saying, and how we get new students. So that was exactly the point of creating a strategic enrollment management plan. And we're now just in the early stages of implementing that. So I think we're going to get to exactly the point of the question.
Thanks, Kevin. Do you have any update on ISU's involvement with the Downard Funeral Home investigation?
Well, first of all, what I want the campus to know is that we did the right thing as an institution. I want everybody to know that we did. We identified that there might be an issue. We found that out. So we took it upon ourselves to do an internal audit. We identified some red flags, and then we immediately took those concerns and we passed them on to law enforcement and the prosecutor's office. And then we let them take it from there. I don't have any specific updates on their investigation. We're not necessarily privy to that. That's law enforcement and the prosecutor's office. But I want the campus to know that as soon as we realized there was a potential issue, we investigated it, and then we passed all those results immediately to law enforcement and the prosecutor's office. So the campus can know we did the right thing.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. My department workload policy is only applied as written if the ending assignment looks good. If the assignments don't work well for faculty, our associate dean changes numbers to look okay. When asked about it, we're assured that she has directed our undergraduate director to apply the workload document as written. What are we as faculty supposed to do when the chain of command is in denial about the problem?
Well, that sounds like a difficult situation. I'd recommend that anyone who's facing concerns like that, concerns with their college leadership or something that sounds like it's a lack of trust situation, reach out to academic affairs or reach out to our ombudspersons, but reach out to academic affairs centrally so that we can try to work on things. We are working to build a culture of trust, compassion, stability, and hope. And one of the things that we cannot do is work on problems if we don't know that they're there. So if you are facing these concerns, please reach out to academic affairs so we can have the conversation. It doesn't have to be accusatory. It doesn't have to be confrontational even. We can talk about these things. We can work through these problems, but we need to know about them. So if they're out there, please bring those up.
Kevin, can you share some updated enrollment numbers?
Well, technically no, but I can talk about it for a minute. Under our State Board of Education requirements, we don't actually count our enrollment until we get to Census Day, which is mid-October. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact date in front of me. It's sometime right around the 15th. So that's technically our actual enrollment Census Day. And until then, all of our numbers are just preliminary. We know that our graduate school numbers are up, but we also know that some of our retention numbers are down. We have a lot of new first-time students. And one of the good reasons that some of our retention is down is that we had a very robust graduating class over the last year, which is a positive. That's what we're here to do. But we know we have work to do on our retention efforts and our recruitment efforts and all of those areas. The good news is enrollments look right now to be in good shape. But we will do updates on the actual numbers and where they fit into all these categories when we get to that Census Day in October.
Thanks, Kevin. Housing and public transportation do not exist in Meridian. What are the future plans, if any, to resolve these concerns?
Well, right now, I think go back to the couple of questions ago, what we do on our property that we have in Meridian, one of the many things that we might talk about is whether there is housing options. I don't think we've reached that conclusion either way, yes or no. I think that's part of what we have to discuss. I know that this time the university isn't looking at creating public transportation in Meridian. We have municipal partners. There are other resources in those communities. But right now the university isn't looking at transportation options, and housing options may or may not be something that gets discussed when we talk about developing our property there. But that's where we are at the moment.
Next question, Kevin. When you say campus-wide, my understanding is you are referring to all ISU locations. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm sorry if I'm not clear on that. Maybe I have to add the plural when I say that, campuses wide or the entire campus community. I do not think that we are, when I say campus, I don't mean one or the other. I'm talking about all of us. We are one university. We are Idaho State University in every location. Our campus community includes all of us. By the way, going back to one of our earlier questions, I also think that includes our distance-based and our online Bengals who are out there too. We are all part of this campus community.
Thanks, Kevin. How's the puppy?
She's great. She's grown quite a bit. I mean, for how small she was when I first got her to where she is now, she's doing very well. Thanks for the question.
Thanks, Kevin. Give us just 1 second to get the questions in order. Okay. I really like the recent efforts by marketing and communications and the new branding. However, I feel that the decision of taking away the identities of the different outreach centers has really hurt our outreach centers. Is there any talk of bringing back those identifiers, Twin Falls, Meridian, Idaho Falls, Alaska, etc., so that people know about these outreach centers?
Well, I think that the decision to remove those campus-specific monikers was going back to the previous question, that we are one university, because we really are. What we need to promote is our colleges and our programs, because that's what students need to know about. That's what our constituents need to know about, more necessarily than that we have that moniker for locations. I mean, obviously, we have to, in those locations, in the Idaho Falls area, we need to figure out what's the right advertising and promotion so the students know what's available. But that doesn't mean we have to add the moniker of Idaho Falls to that communication, or Meridian or Alaska, et cetera. So we're trying to market the fact of what we do to promote our academic mission and colleges and programs over locations. And so we're going to try and keep moving in that direction with that brand.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. Do you have any ideas on how we get our local stores to quit selling way more BSU gear than ISU gear? I'm looking at you, Fred Meyer.
Well, I think we need to continue to build our brand, build excitement around our brand. What I've seen over the last few years is there's more available now than there was then. And we see more branding around town. We see more businesses there painting their windows for Welcome Back Orange and Black. We see more banners, and I've seen more car stickers. I've seen more students on our campus recently who are wearing ISU gear. The more we continue to promote our brand and build the great things we are doing here, we do so many great things here. And the more we talk about that, and the more we're excited about, and the more we're excited ourselves about what we do and positive about what we do, the more our community will be. And the more our community is, the more demand there will be for our product. And that's how we continue to build that brand and get that product available. That's what I think.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question. Do we know the vaccination rate on campus?
Short answer, no. Due to an executive order of the state of Idaho, we are not able to require proof of vaccination. We do have a voluntary survey that we put out to students on Bengal Web, and we're hoping to ask students, well, we are asking them, we're hoping they reply, to ask them to voluntarily share their vaccination status, but we don't have a firm number on that. And we are prohibited from having vaccine requirements. And if we had a vaccine requirement, then we could ask everyone to see about their compliance with it. But since we cannot do that, that inhibits our ability to actually know what our vaccination rates are. So we don't have that data. As long as we are prohibited from having that type of vaccination requirement or those types of programs, we're stuck with that.
Thanks, Kevin. Can my high school son run the 5K with you?
Yes. First of all, it's open to the 5K is open to all of our faculty and staff and their families. But as I've said, I will pay the additional for anybody who is faculty or staff who finishes ahead of me. If everyone gets all of their high school sons, who will be a lot faster than me, I'm not gonna, anyway, yes, please, all faculty and staff and your families, please feel free to sign up and run. Now, I want everybody to sign up soon though. Really like everybody to sign up by Friday, because we want to order the t-shirts that everybody gets. And if we don't get all those people signing up by Friday, we won't have time to order the t-shirts for everybody. So again, isu.edu/run-for-funds, and looking forward to the event.
Thanks, Kevin. Did you try any new recipes this summer that you would like to share with us?
So just last weekend, in fact, to watch a football game, I tried some new soft pretzel recipes. I tried 2 of them because I wasn't sure which one I was going to like, so I made them both. So I made these soft pretzels and cooked them up, and the key to them is before you bake them, you dip them in some boiling water with baking soda in it, and it's that baking soda water that gives it sort of the outer, a little bit of a crisp outer crust once it bakes up, but the soft, chewy inside. And then I did that with like a cheese dipping sauce that I made. And so I have a recipe for a cheese dipping sauce. So at some point, it might be good for a fall tailgate type food, is to have some of those soft pretzels with some cheese dipping sauce. So maybe we could share that one, because that turned out pretty good.
Thanks, Kevin. If we signed up for the run in Meridian, will our shirts be sent over here?
Yes.
Thanks. Next question's a little bit longer.
Okay.
My question is about parking at the Student Health Center. A student went to the health center because they were having an asthma attack. The sign above the check-in kiosk stated that you had to obtain a parking pass across the street. The student walked over to the street to get the parking pass, and they had to provide their license plate number. They didn't know their license plate number, so they had to walk back across the street to obtain it, and then walk back to the kiosk, and then walk back to the doctor. Is there a way to reduce the runaround to park before being seen by our medical providers?
I'm sure there is. Thank you for the feedback. We don't claim, I don't think any of us claim to do everything perfectly. I'll pass this feedback along to our team, and I'm sure we can look into this. Thank you for bringing that up.
All right, Kevin, that brings us to the end of our questions. Pause for just a second and see if we get any last minute questions in.
Okay.
I'd like to just make a comment that we did have a lot of comments come in about transportation questions. We will share those with our operations team, so those will be shared.
Good.
We have a comment. You have been thanking the entire ISU staff and faculty for our hard work during this hard time. We would like to thank you for your dedication and being able to provide us some direction when it comes to these new changes. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
We have another comment. Thank you so much for helping to fix the eye, getting a sponsor for the Holt Arena renovation and other campus improvements. What are your plans for improving academics at ISU?
Wow, we have so many. I don't think I could cover them all right now. But I wonder if the question is specific to getting donations to help academics, perhaps, given the background of the question. We have some of those that are currently in the works and some of them that are not yet announced, but we're working on. The one that I did announce this fall is a $20 million campaign to raise money for scholarships. And the more we can raise for scholarships helps our students and helps them pay for their education. But specifically, we do have some donations that are in the works right now that will go to academics specifically. So those are out there. And we do receive a lot of those in other amounts along the way that we try to announce in ISU Today and other things, but they are out there.
Thanks, Kevin. One question. I saw on the Holt Arena website that general public tickets to the football games are $35 each. I could not see any reduced fee prices for ISU faculty and staff. Does that exist, or do we have to pay $35? It seems like a lot.
I think right now, I think that is our current rate for the game day tickets. We do have for the Run for Funds Day, anyone who participates in the Run for Funds will get a ticket to the football game we're doing that day. And I think we have one game designated for faculty staff appreciation, but I don't have that right off the top of my head of when we're doing that. But I think we are. So I think that's the best answer I have right now.
All right. Next question, Kevin. Why do employees need to use vacation or sick leave days when required to quarantine for COVID? I know most people are able to work from home, but some are not.
So we all want to promote the health and safety of our entire campus community. And we want to be supportive. We want to be flexible as possible. And we do want to encourage employees to stay home if they are sick or have had exposure. I think that's important for our health and safety of our community. We've tried to be creative and flexible in offering remote work options, and they're encouraged. Even if the employee feels well enough to come into work, if they've been exposed, it's best if they don't during the illness or quarantine. But the federal government required COVID leave at one point, but that expired. So illnesses that we have, and we have sick time because it's dedicated for illnesses. So if you have specific concerns, though, anyone who feels like they can't do the right thing, please reach out to your supervisor and reach out directly to HR to talk through our options. I firmly believe that if we talk about these things and bring them up when they come up, we can work through a lot of these issues. So please reach out to HR to talk through what your options are. There may be some things we can do. I want our community to do the right thing for health and safety, but I don't want anyone to feel like they're being forced to do something that isn't the right way to do it.
Thanks, Kevin. We're just about out of time. We have a couple more questions. are masks going to be required for the 5K?
Well, hopefully not. That's still several weeks out. It is outdoors, and we don't know how many people there will be and whether they will have an opportunity to be distanced in terms of the where the race is. So hopefully not. That's the plan, and we'll see as we get closer. So we are about out of time, and I have another meeting scheduled at 3:00, so I need to wrap up. As always, I appreciate these. I appreciate these coffees with Kevin. I appreciate them because it gives you a chance to bring up what's on your mind. Some of the questions are difficult to answer. What I know is we need to keep talking about these, all of these issues, whatever our issues are, so that we can continue to build this campus culture, that we can be open with one another. We can talk about these things. We can have the trust that we can talk about them. And I think that's important. So thank you for your participation in this. And I just got a message from our athletic director, Pauline Theros just told me we are offering $8 tickets to the homecoming football game for faculty and staff, not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend. So thank you, Pauline, for getting me that message. And I think that answers one of the earlier questions. But everybody, thank you, as always, for your participation. Appreciate it. And everybody have a good day.